dude, you look at Isaac Seumalo. He never gets a lot of accolades, a lot of shine or anything, but you never hear his name during game day.
Ever.
And that's the mark of a good, not even a great offensive lineman, because usually when you hear a name of an offensive lineman, you're holding, you're giving up a sack. It's always a negative connotation when it comes to that. But you never hear him. You know, he's just a guy over there doing his thing, not saying anything. And next thing you know, he's a part of the best offensive line, in the league. And he's been the focal point for the past 5 years that he's been a starter.
Yep. All right, so underrated, under the radar, I think would be probably a better way to put it. Eagles, okay? I jotted down a couple. I'll throw them out there. You guys tell me which ones you agree with. You want to pick up on any of them, feel free. But Avonte Maddox, who I think really came into his own as a slot, nickel last year in a great spot for him. You have Isaac Seumalo.
Cool.
Huh?
You're right, Rob. I mean, we haven't talked about Avonte Maddox when he's the third in that trifecta that, you can name him as a starter.
Yeah.
He's a starter, slot corner, man. You're right about that, man. I hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely right.
Especially in this league, I mean, everything's, you're almost constantly with
11 personnel. Yeah, 11 personnel.
And I think they tried different things with him to see which is the best spot for him. But I think he really found his footing last year, and he's playing great. I mean, look, you're measuring him against a Slay and a Bradbury, who's another one who's had a great camp.
Yep.
So far. And when we talked about what a good camp Epps has had, I'm so excited for the secondary, man. I can't even explain it to you. But all right, so Avonte. I threw Isaac Seumalo. I don't think that he gets enough love. I know they have depth on that offensive line. Everybody wants to kind of replace the guy, but I threw him in there. You guys want to jump in on him? I like him, I think, more than most people do.
Dude, you look at Isaac Seumalo. He never gets a lot of accolades, a lot of shine or anything, but you never hear his name during game day.
Ever.
And that's the mark of a good, not even a great offensive lineman, because usually when you hear a name of an offensive lineman, you're holding, you're giving up a sack. It's always a negative connotation when it comes to that. But you never hear him. He's just a guy over there doing his thing, not saying anything. And next thing you know, he's a part of the best offensive line, in the league. And he's been the focal point for the past 5 years that he's been a starter.
Yep.
He's been so yeah, you have to say that he was right on the cusp before last year of becoming, I think, a Pro Bowl type of offensive lineman. I really think that, if he'd have stayed healthy and played the entire season, he'd have been mentioned as an alternate in the Pro Bowl, almost guaranteed.
Interesting. All right, so there's Seumalo. How about you, Gunnar?
I don't view Seumalo as underrated, nor do I view Avonte Maddox as underrated. Avonte Maddox has proved his mettle to this organization. If not, he wouldn't be here. When you look at the people they tried at that position over the last few years, they didn't hold out, and yet he continues. It's always going back to him. There were times they had to put him on the outside. He's just a little too short to play on the outside against these bigger receivers nowadays, and the Eagles identified that. But he's perfect for the slot, which those receivers are usually a smaller receiver. When I look at a Seumalo, I think he's recognized for being that Swiss Army knife. You can plug and play him anywhere on that offensive line, which makes him that much more valuable. Unfortunately, he lost significant time last year due to an injury. But I think Seumalo is well respected around the league. I think if he was on the open market right now, he wouldn't be there more than 24 hours. No question about that, because of his ability to play multiple positions and play it at a high level.
All right, fair enough. A couple others I threw on there for underrated, under the radar, whatever the case may be. Okay. Look, TJ Edwards, all we try and do is replace this guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And I get it. We're all excited for Nakobe Dean. Understood. But, he's turned himself into not just the best of a bad lot of Eagles linebackers, into a good linebacker now in the NFL.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't, I don't know if we look at him quite that way.
He is, it wasn't until he stepped up and really started, especially right around the Detroit game, that you really saw how good TJ Edwards was. In fact, I go so far as to say the Raiders game, the game before Detroit, where he started playing at a level in which I'm like, man, TJ Edwards really wants to be a starter. He really wants to play. He's going to mix it up. It took a long time for linebackers to play like linebackers in the system last year. I can remember watching teams with double team to 3 technique all the way back to the linebackers because the linebackers were not tough enough and intense enough. And that's when they had Wilson,
right,
and those guys in there, and they would wait for blocks to get to them. It wasn't until they cut Wilson and they put TJ in there, and TJ started coming downhill and rocking those offensive linemen off the double team, which now allowed the defensive lineman to go one-on-one with a D tackle. I mean, a defensive tackle against one-on-one against an offensive guy, and then a linebacker against an offensive guy. And that double team not only filled his gap, but it also closed the hole up because the linebacker wasn't back waiting for the play to develop in front of him. He was going downhill and activating the play and stopping it so everybody could go out there one-on-one and make plays. That's what he brought. He brought a toughness. He brought he brought a nastiness to this defense in the interior. And because of that, you saw now Fletcher's Cox start playing well. That's when Hargrave started playing well because you couldn't just double team them guys back to linebacker because TJ was coming downhill and laying out offensive linemen for when they were on a double team, knocking them off the blocks. Now both guys are free to make plays. Ever since then, he has been that shining light in that defense. That's when, if you saw, they started calling a more aggressive game. Gannon started calling a more aggressive game because he relied on TJ to make sure he would bring that funk in the middle of that defense. So now that, we're going to the next year, they knew they had something. That's why Howie Roseman signed him to a deal as soon as he did. He didn't have to sign him to a deal, but he knew he had something in TJ Edwards to keep him quiet. Now he goes to this season a starter. You're not going to take that from him. I mean, I think my dog Dean going to have to play Will. He's not going to be able to play Mike because TJ going to be a Mike linebacker for a long time here in Philly.
Okay. I'll throw another one in there. Boston Scott. For some reason, he sort of disappeared for a while last year, but then when they, broke the glass in case of emergency and he came back, the guy plays and he's got a nose for the end zone, especially for a little dude in the red zone. I'm a huge fan, man. And I think, look, he's a great sort of backup running back, second or third guy on your team. I'm not saying he's a feature back necessarily, but he's a real good football player. I think Boston Scott, they got something there with him.
He's a giant killer also.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
He's always played good against the Giants. But with the exception of that fumble against the Giants, he's always played very, very well. He runs well in between the tackles. He's actually a really good red zone, getting up, hitting yards inside when they run screens and draw plays and even running power plays. He gets in between those offensive linemen. And he sneaks around in there. Next thing you know, he's up 5-6 yards down the field. So he plays well for his size in between the tackles. He's not one of those guys who wants to bounce it. He want to run up in there with the trees and everything that he can get by and they don't see him. Next thing you know, he's 5 yards down the field.
Right.
Very consistent player, man. He's one of those things that, all right, a change of pace back, put him in there fresh, he'll run all over your defense.
Yeah.
For a guy who only had 87 touches last year, I mean, he averaged 4.3 yards a carry. And because of his low center of gravity, bigger players, you can't really square up on him. He has the advantage when it's about to make contact because he has that low center of gravity, and he's a wide body to be a little guy.
Yeah, he's strong.
Man, you look at his upper body and his thighs and his calves. Man, that leverage he has on that initial contact. That's why you see him bouncing off a lot of tackles where, he does. When you hit him the first time, he's still churning to get to 2 or 3, 4 extra yards, and he can break it off. He can break it off too. If he gets an open, a lot of times you're not going to catch him from behind.
Nope.
He's the perfect compact weapon for what you need to do in certain situations. He
can
really
catch.
And he can catch the ball as well. He only carried the ball in 2, 4, 6. He only carried the ball in 8 games last year.
Yeah, there's a big stretch there where I don't know what he just kind of went bye, even though he was healthy.
He didn't even carry the ball until October 24th against the Raiders. And that was when Miles Sanders got hurt. He was a forgotten entity. We kept asking, where the heck is Boston Scott? You know, we saw what he did the previous year and what he's capable of doing. And all of a sudden, you know, he's a forgotten entity in the offense, but then all of a sudden he gets his chance. And all he did the whole season was produce. I'm looking at one game, you know, against Denver, he averaged 7.4 yards a carry. Every other game, minimum, except one against New Orleans, he averaged a minimum of 3.4 yards a carry. Well, you carry the ball 3 times in a series, that's a first down every time you carry the ball. You know,
will they keep just 3? You guys think? I mean, at this point, is it Miles? Is it Boston? And you know, or is it only going to be those 3 guys, the 3 that we anticipate here? You know, going in.
If you keep
Kenny Gainwell,
if you keep extra edge rushers, if you keep extra linebackers, one position has to suffer.
Yeah,
and I think they have enough youth in that backfield and interchangeable parts that I think going into a season they will be comfortable with 3 backs. You know, a lot of teams like to keep that 4th back, and who knows, but it's going to be a hard decision. You know, if they keep 6 receivers, they keep extra linebackers, they keep an extra edge rusher, it's going to be a tough decision in terms of what position has to suffer. You know, they're going to keep a multitude of offensive linemen. That's what they've done, you know, for years. They love their offensive linemen. So they're going to keep extra offensive linemen on this team. So somewhere, somehow, another position has to take the hit.
Well, what would you say is going to take the hit, D-Gun? Because
I would say running back.
Yeah.
You know,
you're going to have a lot of wideouts and a lot of linebackers.
Yeah, and a lot of linemen.
Because let's face it, Sean Bradley may never see the field as a linebacker, but he's going to be probably the special teams captain.
Yep.
So
exactly.
Then you have to keep Davion Teller because he's having a great.
There you go.
Right
yeah, and something's got to give. Something's got to give somewhere.
Kazir White. You've got
there you go.
Got guys like
Kyron
Johnson. Yep.
Yeah.
You got Kyron Johnson. You got Patrick Johnson. You've got
Johnson and Johnson.
A lot of Johnsons.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you got Tyron Jackson also. Then you have Milton Williams.
Yeah.
It's when do you
the 53 is going to be really tough.
Yeah, where do you cut?
I hate to be Howie right now because there's so many good players on this roster right now. Like a guy we're not even talking about, but watch when you see him. When you know, on Friday, Matt Leo, number 66. Watch you see this kid is big, strong, quick, sets the edge. He's a defensive end. Wait till you see him. Another guy that's big, strong, and plays the nose very, very well that nobody's really talking about is Marvin Wilson, number 73. He is a dump truck in there. He is the man, bro. I'm telling you.
But I don't see them keeping 5 D tackles though.
You can't because you got the guys on the edges, you know. And when I say the guys on the edges, you got you got the guys on the edges are guys like Kyron Johnson, Patrick Johnson, Hassan Reddick, and with them comes Josh Sweat, Derek Barnett, Tyron Jackson, Brandon Graham. That's a lot of guys you got to keep, man. So where do you go from there?
That's what I said. What takes the hit?
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, obviously, right? You'd rather have this than, my God, can we really have this guy on a roster? You know, you'd rather it be that way, for sure. But
well, look at this though. You know, a guy that they may cut, they might have to cut. That Kayvon Wallace. Kayvon Wallace is
really
he's not having a great camp. He's having an okay camp. He's not doing enough right now to garner him being on the team, especially when you have all these linebackers. So at this point, I see them keeping three or four safeties. And he may not be that guy, man.
It's a pretty high pick who's going to be gone, you know, in pretty relative, you know, short order here.
They like Andre Chachere. They like him.
How many corners are you going to keep?
Oh, exactly. I mean, you know they're going to keep Zach McPherson because he's had a great camp.
Yeah,
great camp. They're going to keep man after that, you know, because they like Matt McCain.
And the offensive line's not going to be easy either,
bro.
That's what I said. They're going to keep nine. They're going to keep 9 or 10 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Usually they keep 9.
Yes.
But I don't know if you can keep 9. I mean, they might have to keep.
They will keep 9, dude, because of the injuries to offensive linemen nowadays. How many can you bury on a practice squad?
And even think about like the last couple of years, the amount of offensive line, like they've been able to overcome it and do a nice job, but they've lost guys the last few years.
Last year you lost Brandon Brooks and Sayamalo, and that offensive line kept going because of the depth.
For his own purposes, wasn't around early in the year too. So you need depth there too.
But who do you keep then? I mean, all right, you got the 5 starters. Okay, after that, you're going to keep Andre Dillard. You're going to keep Jack Driscoll. Then after that, you got Cam Jurgens. He probably started if Kelsey didn't come back enough time. They love Sewell Payton. He's going to be here. Sewell Payton will be here.
There you go.
Then after that, Coyote Owusuka. Do you keep after that Brett Toth,
LaRaven Clark?
LaRaven Clark. I mean, they love LaRaven Clark.
See, to me, those are practice squad players. But this team likes to keep a minimum of 9, and I could possibly see 10. Because offensive linemen are falling like crazy the last few years.
Well, look at what's going on. It was great that you said that yesterday, Rob. But the situation with the Jets,
with Beckham,
you've got you with them losing their starting tackle, Mekhi Beckham. You have to go out there and entertain. Andre Dillard, wave him in front of him.
Yeah, I can't imagine there hasn't been a conversation had. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but you tell me Howie and Douglas haven't at least discussed it. I guarantee you they have. Yeah. And look, I don't want, like I said, I don't want to get rid of them, but the Jets are very vulnerable right now, which means you could maybe really fleece them in this situation. So keep your eye on that one. And it may not happen this week or next week, but within the next 2 or 3 weeks, if it's going to happen, I think they would want him to get at least a week under his belt, with the Jets system. So, relatively short order, I would think.
He can go in as a starter. He can go in as a starter.
Yeah, 100% he can. Yeah, I believe it. And look, if you're the Jets, first of all, you lose. I don't care what team you are, but the last thing you want is Wilson running for his life, having happy feet, getting his rear end handed to him. I mean, they need to protect that guy to find out exactly what they had. It was not a real smooth year last year for him. And I'm not killing the guy. He was a rookie and he was with a bad team, but it's time to see what that guy's got going on and how real he is. And that's where I think they're vulnerable. Look, I think, and Howie, as time goes on, just starts jacking that price up, or he went real high and all right, get back to me. And then they see in these preseason games how whoever the backup is, I couldn't even tell you who's on the depth on the Jets offensive line, but whoever the guy that's stepping in there. Like, I'll give you another one. The Tampa Bay Bucks today, their backup center left on a cart, and it was like Panic City.
Yes.
Turns out he had cramps. Thankfully, that he had leg cramps. That's all it was.
I just said crabs.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, cramps, not crabs. But no, it turned out to be nothing. Thank God. But for them, they went down to the 3rd string center with a 45-year-old quarterback, even though he's the GOAT. So this stuff is sketchy, man. That's for sure.
Rob, if that would have happened, he'd have retired right then and there.
Yeah, he would have been somehow he would have been with Miami if that was the case with all the tampering. All right, so let's step aside. We come back. Adam Kaplan's going to join us. Adam has been on his tour, his usual preseason tour of a bunch of different teams. We'll talk to him about that. We'll talk about the Eagles, the NFC East, you name it. We'll hit all of it. Don't go anywhere. Derek Gunn, Barrett Brooks, Rob Ellis with you on this Wednesday. Let's talk a little Razor technology, because IT infrastructure environments are more complex and heterogeneous than ever before. Consequently, teams struggle to respond to pressing issues with the speed necessary to promote positive business results, and the data that powers predictive monitoring and automation is left unexploited. Razor Technology addresses this challenge with a holistic approach that connects every part of an organization's technology assets, enabling proactive and secure IT operations without sacrificing the agility that drives innovation. Razor Technology automates monitoring and management to bolster IT teams that are feeling stretched thin. And it improves auditing and reporting procedures so that actionable insights find their way to the leaders that need them most. Save time and money on your IT and cloud services and secure your organization with leading end-to-end infrastructure solutions by calling Razor Technology today at 866-797-3282, 866-797-3282, or visit them online at razor-tech.com. That's razor-tech.com.